This video is intended to be a short introduction to AutoDesk Inventor Pro. Inventor is really the sister program to Fusion. Both of these programs live in the Autodesk family. Fusion runs on Mac and PC. Inventor only runs on PC. In my class, I'd like to cover both. Most years I start on Inventor because I think it's a little easier to pick up on. Some years I start on Fusion. So I'm going to just do a brief introduction here on how you kind of start with an Inventor program and how it's organized. Okay. I started in the program. Often when you start, you're going to get like a get working option and a get learning option. I clicked on get working and in this sort of get started tab. You'll notice here you can create new parts. You can create new assemblies, so you can take multiple parts and combine them into an assembly to make a more complex unit. Okay. Then once you have this done, you could create a drawing. Off of that, you could also import just the parts by themselves into the drawing. One of the key differences between Fusion and Inventor. In Inventor, you can have a drawing and you can reference multiple files into one drawing. I haven't figured out how to do that in Fusion yet. And then you can also do a presentation, which is usually like a short animation that shows an exploded view of what you designed. I rarely use the presentation. Okay, I don't know what's happening right now. I think I accidentally clicked on something. We're not going to do a drawing because we don't have anything built yet. Okay, so I'm going to go back to, I'm going to X out of this. I'm going to close out of this. I'm going to go back to the starting point. Okay, we're going to double click part. Everything in the world of CAD really starts with a simple part. You know, if you think about something as complex as a car, you would start with like an engine block, and then you would build pistons, which are made up of 10 parts. And then each of those pistons can be attached to the engine block. And then you can attach axles and pulleys and belts and spark plugs and everything. And before you know it, you've got a fully modeled engine that can get added to a frame, which can then have, you know, everything in the interior added, and then the exterior body panels. And before you know it, you have a full car, but it's probably made of 10 or 20,000 parts. Okay, we're going to start from a very simple, just a simple part. To make a part, you have to start with a sketch. I like to click on the picture and not the words. If you click on the words, you then have to click again. Okay, I always start with a 2D sketch. Honestly, I don't know how to even start with a 3D sketch. So we're going to start with a 2D sketch. Like I said, it's easier if you just click on the picture itself, and then you avoid the second step. Once you've done that, you have 3 planes. Okay, we live in a three-dimensional world. So you have to draw on one of those planes. It doesn't really matter what plane you start with, because you can always rotate the part later. I tend to start on the horizontal plane. In my horizontal world, I now have really a piece of paper. Okay, and now you may not have noticed, but these tools up here changed. So now we have drawing tools that will be used to create a sketch. Then we'll finish the sketch, and then we can go into the 3D tools to turn that sketch into a 3D object. Okay, over here we have a navigation cube. The home view is really helpful if you're lost. It'll just take you back to sort of a 3D view of everything. Top view is what we're drawing in. Okay, and I like to keep it looking like a piece of paper and not a 3D piece of paper with the home. Over here we have more navigation tools. You don't tend to use these in 2D, which is the drawing mode, the sketch mode, but in 3D you will. We have some other tools up here that we can use as we get more and more into the program. I'm going to start with the basics and just draw a shape, okay, a rectangle. Most of these tools, as you notice, if you hover, tells you what it is. and it tells you even a little more what it does. And sometimes there's even a little video that goes along with it. Okay, so if you had to learn entirely on your own, you could, in theory, read these instructions. I'm going to start with 2-point rectangle. Okay, and when I click, I'm drawing. Now I haven't done a second click yet, so I've like established a starting point. You can see that the size of the rectangle is kind of dynamic and it's happening as I move. But this is a really terrible way to model. If I wanted to make exactly a 2-inch by 2-inch cube, you know, I could probably get there, but it's going to take a very long time. Okay, so a way better way to go is just to type 2, and it overrides the highlighted box. And then if you go tab, it jumps to the other box. And you go 2, enter, and I have a cube, or not a cube, a square. I have dimensions that tell me how big that square is. Okay, I'm still in the rectangle tool, so if I click again, I'm drawing something else. I'm going to escape out. Let's say I wanted to change the size of this square before I even finish the sketch. If I were to double click these dimensions and I say 3 instead of 2, it just stretches the rectangle accordingly. Okay. If I delete with the delete button on a PC, not the backspace button, those dimensions go away, and this is now kind of free to be changed. If I put a dimension back on, I can change that. Okay. But if I don't have any other dimensions on this, the whole shape will proportionately change. So if I make this say 6, enter, you notice the whole cube got bigger. Okay, if I wanted this to not grow, I wanted to only change the side, what I need to do is dimension the side I want to lock down. Okay, and then I can change this one, and it only changes the one. But if I don't have a second dimension, then it assumes that I want to proportionately change everything. Okay, so then if I change this one, both sides change, all 4 sides change. So dimensions in sketch mode are powerful because they can be used to fix something. If I have a complex shape, like that, this cannot be turned into a 3D object because it's not a simple shape with just an inside and an outside. Okay, it's got like 1, 2, 3 separate insides, if that makes sense. Okay, if I were to use this trim tool, I can trim. Trimming uses lines across each other as cutting tools. Really handy tool. Okay, this shape could be turned into a 3D shape. The only side I've locked down with a dimension is this one. Okay, if I wanted to take all of the sides and make them all 2 inches, I can start dimensioning everything. And I don't know if this is possible to make everything 2. It might be something that's geometrically impossible. I think that's going to end up touching that. So let's make this one say 2. See, and then this, maybe I'll make that say 1. See, I've got a problem right there. So I'm going to Control Z, Control Z. Maybe what I should do is I'll make this one say 3, enter. I'll make, if that's 2 and that's 2, if I double click this one and make this one say 1, enter, that's not what I want. How about 3, enter? And now I have kind of a symmetrical shape. Okay. Then I can finish this sketch. And since I'm lost, I can go back to home view and it'll bring me back to where I am. And now if you notice, these shapes up here, or these tools up here have changed. All of a sudden we're in the 3D modeling tools. And I can extrude. Extrude will take a flat shape and make it into a 3D shape. Revolve is another one we use a lot. You could take a flat shape and you could spin it around one of the lines, and that turns it into a 3D shape. I'll show you both of those with what I just built here. Okay. And then maybe I'll show you fillet and chamfer and call it good. So extrude tool. Since there's one simple shape here, it's pretty obvious what needs to be extruded, and it defaulted to 1 inch. I'm going to, here it is. I'm going to change that 1 inch to say 0.5 inch. Okay. Other things you can do with extrude, you can flip it and say I want to extrude down instead of up. You can extrude symmetrically. See, now it's doing a 1/2 inch, but it's symmetrical about the sketch. Or you can do asymmetrical, and then you can tell it I want to do like a 1/2 inch up, and in this case a 1/4 inch down. I tend to just use the simple extrude. You can also make it a negative extrude. I think. No, it's not recognizing negative, so you can't do that in Inventor. So I'm going to just leave this here, okay, and hit OK. So there's now a 3D object. If I want to go back and edit it again, I need to bring up a tool here that disappeared, which is my browser tool. So if that happens to you, this is a good chance to show you where it lives. You go to View, User Interface. I don't know why it disappeared, but is it Model? Is it my mini toolbar? Is it there it is. Oh, there's the model. I don't know why it lagged. This is what you need, okay? In some versions of Inventor, they call it a browser. This one is called the model. So this white space here, you really need to keep. So again, that's under View, User Interface, Model. Okay, and I'll show you why I need that. Let's say instead of an extrude, I want to change my mind. I can expand this extrude, and there's my original sketch. If I delete my extrude with a right click, I have to be careful not to delete consume sketches or everything disappears. Watch this. See, I lost everything. Control Z. I want to delete my extrude, but I want to uncheck this box, and then I retain my original sketch. Okay. And I can now, instead of doing an extrude, let me show you how the revolve tool works. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my 3D modeling tool, and I'm going to do a revolve. In the revolve tool, I have my profile picked. So if I pick the axis, I'm going to pick like this one. It spins that shape around that axis. This is a full rotation. Okay, I could also make it an angle, and I could type in 45 degrees. Depending on what you're building, you can use the revolve tool to make some really complex shapes. Full rotation, if I spin, now here's these 3D tools, okay? If I take this navigation tool and I spin my world around, you can see that shape, which is kind of like a zigzag shape, I guess, got spun around the center point to make this little hole, almost like a cup of some sort or a bushing. And I'm going to check mark it, okay, and I have my shape now. So revolve is really useful. You can't do certain things without using the revolve tool. This shape could have been built with an extrude of a circle, a second extrude of a circle, and like a third extrude of a circle. Let me show you that, okay, and then we'll call it good. So I'm going to escape, get out of that tool. Let's just delete this revolution. I'm wanting to be in the middle of a tool here. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to, again, uncheck this. Okay. And I'm going to go back to my sketch mode, and let's go to a top view so I can see the sketch. And I'm going to just get into sketch mode here, and I'm going to double click my sketch now so I can edit my sketch. Okay. I'm going to just blow this away. Delete. If I were to use a circle tool and make it maybe 2 inches across, enter. Finish the sketch. Then I can go into 3D model, extrude. Let's go to home view so it looks better. Okay, and I'm going to extrude it like maybe 2 inches. Okay, so here's the start of my 3D object. Then I'm going to make a new sketch here to punch a hole down. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to look for new sketch, enter, and now I have the start of a second sketch here. Okay, since it flew away, I'm going to hit top view and it'll bring it back so I can see what I'm working on. And let's zoom in. Okay, I'm now drawing something new on the top of this circle, so I'm going to take my circle tool and it should snap to the center point. And I think the last one was, what was it, 2 inches? So if I make this one say 1.5, enter, I have a new circle that I can extrude. I can finish that sketch, and then my 3D tools pop up again. I'm going to extrude, and if you notice, I can either extrude up, I can extrude with the cut tool down. Okay, instead of 2 inches, I'm going to say 1.5, and if I check mark it, that just cut. It's like a cut extrude. See that? Not all the way through because I only made it go down 1.5 inches. Then I could do another new sketch, and you can keep doing this forever. To get out of a tool, you can either click it again, like see now it's active because it's blue, now it's inactive because it's not blue, or you can just hit escape 2 or 3 times. I'm going to click here. I'm going to pick create sketch. I don't know why it keeps flying down there, but I can find it. I think I have something right here that's messing me up. There we go. Okay, I'm sketch mode right now, so I'm going to take another circle, draw another circle, and make that only 1 inch across. Finish that sketch. Extrude that piece. Maybe go 0.5 on that one. Check mark. And now I have pretty similar to what I built the first time with the revolve tool. So some shapes you can use extrude or revolve. Other shapes you can only use one or the other. Fillet tool, that's really easy. I can show you that quickly. Fillet just means you're going to put a little curve. Okay, this is a 1/8 inch radius curve, and I put it on that whole edge. Okay, so if I spin it, you can see it puts a nice little curve on there so it doesn't have a sharp corner that could either break or cut you or something. The chamfer is very similar, except instead of a curve, it puts like a 45-degree angle on. So that's a 1/8 inch 45, so I could put that here. And you can see the difference. One is curved, one is more of an angle. So those are sort of the first tools in Inventor. Okay. When you're done, you're going to want to save your work probably to your desktop.